Welcome to the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast, the show where ambition is celebrated, not silenced. Lori, Ann, and Angie are your hosts, and each week we dive into real, unfiltered conversations about women doing extraordinary things in their lives and in their businesses. Here we don't shrink to fit expectations or apologize for our success. We share stories that are inspiring, hilarious, and always authentic, because becoming unstoppable isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and join our community of women who know that no is a complete sentence and there are no limits to what we can achieve together. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Unapologetic and Unstoppable Women podcast. And if you couldn't tell, my mouth did not catch up with my brain there for a second. That definitely happens. Lori and I are excited to be here with you today. You might notice that Ann Hunter is missing. She is off doing amazing things and hosting a leadership development opportunity for professionals in her area. So she is off in her element, doing her fun thing, and we're wishing her so much well with that. We know it's going to be highly successful, but we are missing her today, very selfishly. But anyhow, so Lori and I are going to be talking about advocacy and social change, and we're going to share some stories about how you can get involved. You don't have to get involved in big, massive ways. You don't have to write big, massive checks to make positive change. We're going to talk about all kinds of different ways that you can get involved and make a difference. And even if you are making a difference in one person's life, it still matters. So anyhow, nice to see you, Lori.
Good to see you too, Angie. Always fun. Always look forward to this.
Yes, this is definitely one of the highlights of our weeks, for sure. So do you want to kick us off with
Sure. I'm big on supporting financially for one, places that are near and dear to my heart. So, for instance, St. Jude's, and so it's little things, because I kind of want to go to what you were saying, Angie, about it doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to have big checks and all that stuff. And locally, a friend of mine, the Children's Hospital here in Cincinnati is well known, and um, a friend of mine, Cincinnati Children's, saved her daughter's life years and years and years ago. And you know how we used to save aluminum cans?
oh yeah.
Well, now that's just the pop top, the little tab thing, so I save that for no matter where I go. If I see somebody with a can, I'm pulling it off and putting it in my pocket. So those are like the little things that you can do. And they're not little, because they add up. Currently, one of my favorites is, as a Reiki master, and a Reiki healer. I volunteer in Cincinnati at the Cancer Support Center. Both of my parents died of lung cancer, and it was from secondhand smoke, because they never smoked. And cancer is way too prevalent in America anymore, way too prevalent. So there are so many people who have struggled with cancer, survived cancer, some have not. And so once a month, local Reiki healers and I go to the Cancer Support Center and offer Reiki for free. And it's amazing to hear these stories, men and women. Their supporters also, so their support team can come in as well. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And of course, all that Reiki going around is just like helping everybody in that room and even in the building. So that's kind of my favorite thing that I do, to support and serve. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And what a gift that you're offering to those families and to those people who cancer, has touched their lives. And if you are not familiar with Reiki, I highly, highly encourage you to check it out and experience it because it is, I don't, Lori's the master. I have only been on the receiving end of things and I don't understand how it works, but I don't need to understand how it works. I just know it works. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Lori can
Mm.
explain all of that, but I can tell you that I have experienced Reiki multiple, multiple, multiple times, and I just highly recommend it. And there's just, yeah, it is truly a healing modality that I'm so glad that you are offering that gift to those families because it works. I mean, it really does. It just works
Yeah.
in amazing ways.
Yeah. And And not only that, but it also, you get to know the people that come on a regular basis. And there was one gentleman who was in a wheelchair. And so, I was working with him and just the talking to someone, he just started asking me some questions and just looking them in the eye and answering the questions and letting them know that they are important, that their questions are important, their viewpoints are important. Whether you agree or not, their viewpoints are their viewpoints. And so just that bonding, that knowing that you are worthy. It just, yeah.
That's a gift because so
Mm.
many people, when they're going through some things like that, they might not have a large support
Right.
system, or their support system lives out of the area and isn't able to spend as much time with them as they would like. And just that being able to connect on a
Mhm.
real person to person level and giving them space to ask questions, share their stories, um, and
Yeah.
like you said, let them know that they matter and that they're valued. And I have goosebumps. It is just so beautiful. And it's one of those things that um people it's for Lori, when she goes once a month, and it could be easy for someone to say, oh, I only do that once a month, but it's like, oh no, the impact that happens during that period is monumental. And that's the priceless piece of it, where you are making a difference and you are enacting change in these people. And it might be, they might not have laughed that hard in a long time or smiled, so much that their
Neat.
cheeks hurt. And just to be able to experience all of that, yeah, it's beautiful.
And something, Angie, something that you said that kind of reminded me that, you know, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. I was just talking to Angie before this. My allergies are kicking in because I had the windows open. So, pardon me. But when people are chronically ill, a lot of times their support system. So, for instance, um, if you're diagnosed with something and people hear about it, and like the first few months they're always there, they're calling, they're blah, and then as time goes, people stop showing up, people
Mm.
stop, and people sometimes even feel uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, that's when people need you the most. So even just a text message saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're doing fine. I love you. that means the world to somebody who is not getting the social interaction that they're used to when they were healthy. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I'll share anytime someone pops in my mind for whatever reason, I mean, and sometimes we don't know why people pop into our mind. I shoot them a text or an email or however I normally communicate with them, and just say, hey, I was just thinking of you, hope you're doing well. And it's amazing to me, and it was like, I just needed to hear from you. And it's like, so there's some, if I believe as a Christian there's a divine intervention there. And I did that with one of my friends recently, and I literally, she'd been married for 30 years and she's getting a divorce. And I had no, like, literally had no idea. And she was on my mind, and I reached out to her, and she said, oh my gosh, I just needed to talk to you so much. And she said, but I didn't know what to say or how to say it. And I said, what? Tell me what's going on. And then she laid it all, and she said, well, we're getting a divorce. I was like, whoa, I had no, literally, I would have never saw that coming in a million years. And so just even something like that can make such a big difference. And it's not a big grand gesture, but just letting
Right.
people know, like, hey, I'm thinking of you, you're important to me. Whatever that is, I mean, it makes such a difference in people's lives.
Yes. Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and that connection that you have, that is a mystery. But it's not a mystery, Uh, even if I'm Christian too, but at the same time, I also love reading these books on physics and how behind the scenes, it's all this energy and that energy
Energy.
is flowing everywhere. So it's not woo-woo stuff anymore. It's science anymore. So, which is really cool. But Angie, I know you do so much for your community.
Mm.
Can you
Well,
share some of that?
I'm very, very passionate about my area, and so there's a country song out, and it's called "I Can't Love You More Than My Hometown," and I hate to say this, but my husband's not from this area; he's from 100 miles away, and I said, like, the only way this relationship is going to work is if we live here, because I I I love my hometown so, and I'm so deeply
Mhm.
connected. I'm so deeply rooted. And so that is something that I value very much. I'm proud of where I come from.
Mhm.
I think, we just offer something really special in these here parts of Ohio. So I live in Northeast Ohio, and in Amish country, and our school district I'm super, super passionate about. But you know, um, I I'm driven by my values in a lot of ways. And so, as a woman who owns a business, just like Lori's a woman who owns a business, I love to support other women-owned businesses. And so, I have my favorites, and we have a great little downtown district with a ton of women-owned businesses in downtown Worcester. And so I like to frequent those. I like to support those. And even if it's, like, one's a coffee shop, I don't drink coffee, I don't like coffee. And but she does these fun little hot chocolates, and I don't like hot things to drink. However, a couple of times a year I still make it a point to go in there. It's always when it's cold and wintry,
Yep,
um
yep, yep.
but I want to support her, even if it's in a small way, and even if it's a couple of times a year. It's not a place that I, just because it's just not my preference, but I still find ways to go in there,
Mhm.
and I still have great conversations, and that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Can
And
I
I love,
interrupt for a
oh,
second?
please interrupt.
I want to make a very clear point here. What Angie is saying is that shopping is
Yes,
Social is helping society, all part of what we're talking about here. Shopping local, shopping
yes.
small mom and pop businesses. Yes. So, ladies, go ahead and shop.
Go ahead and shop. You can say you heard it on this podcast, and we give
That's
you
right.
carte blanche permission to just go have at it.
Sorry, I had to interrupt.
No, I'm glad you did. That was perfect. And even when I travel, like I want to go to the mom and pop shops. I want to eat at the
Mhm.
local restaurants and not the chains, and because that's something that I value and I think is important. So even just changing, like whenever you're on vacation, instead of eating at a big chain store, ask someone that at the hotel who's a local and say, where do the locals eat? Where's the best place to get? And then name the type of food you're interested in. They will send you to the best places that's
Yes.
way better than any chain
Yes.
that's out there. And then you get to see a taste of the local culture, and it's really
Yeah.
beautiful. And once again, you were going to eat anyways. It's not, it's so, but it's those little things that make the
Mhm.
biggest difference. And like I'm on the local school board because I'm so passionate about our tri-way community and our students. Matter of fact, I created a girls in leadership club and I just volunteered there this
Mhm.
morning, and because that's something else that I'm very, very passionate about. And so I went to the school and said, now it's a little hard for them to say no because I'm on the school board, but I would have hoped that if it was a terrible idea, they would have said, Angie, that's a terrible idea. But I said, look, this is something that our girls deserve. And I just want to give them a safe space to talk about real girl topics that only girls can
Mhm.
understand, and maybe help them navigate some things. Like one of the questions that was asked was, um, a girl got her very first job, and a week later she started her menstrual cycle and she wasn't prepared, and she said, I thought I was going to get fired. And she said, because I couldn't tell my male boss I started my menstrual
Uh,
cycle, I needed to go home and take a shower,
mm,
and that's something that only a girl can understand, right?
yes.
Like, only a girl can understand what that's like. And then
Yes.
having to go, so she said, I just said I'm not feeling good. And she said I really thought I was going to get fired because I'd only been on the job a week. So we talked about how to navigate that, how to manage that,
Mhm.
and keep in mind, she's 16 years old. She's not an adult whose brain is fully functioned and
Right.
has all of these life's experiences. She was so embarrassed. And then she was embarrassed for her coworkers to, like I'm of the adage, well, everyone poops. So, but I'm also 50 plus 3 years old. At 16, I wouldn't have been able to
Right.
had those conversations.
Right. It's a
And
tender age.
exactly. And so, but now, even though the other girls in the club hadn't had that experience, but they've learned, and it's like, here's the best way. She had a locker at her work. And so she just always keeps things there just in case, because
Mm.
our menstrual cycles aren't necessarily like clockwork, as we know. And sometimes we get surprised. Well, Lori and I are past that now, but
Yes.
thank God.
Yay.
But, you know, even when women are older, I mean, so, just coming up with some solutions that help her hopefully not have to experience that again, to where, she said there was a part of her who was so embarrassed that she almost didn't like return to that job because
Oh.
her assumption was everybody knows,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
right?
right, right. Yep.
Because she assumed everyone knew, and that ended up not being the case. But put yourself in that 16-year-old girl's shoes,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So just having those conversations can make a change, can make an impact.
And
And
to have and to have someone that she trusts to go to, because there are topics that you may not want to go to your mom for.
Yes.
Right? There are some sensitive things, some maybe you made some mistakes that you don't want to tell your parents,
Hmm.
and to have a someone that you can trust that can talk you through it, that's huge. That's
Yes.
huge.
Yep.
I believe there would be a lot less suicides if people had other people that they could trust to talk to without judgment.
Yeah. Mhm, I agree. And it doesn't have to be one to many. It can be one to one.
Right.
Mentor someone, if you um it could be a friend's child. It could be someone
Mhm.
who you see out in the community on a regular basis. I mean, it could be someone who is a colleague of yours, or it doesn't
Right.
have to be on this global scale. It can just be one to one and just make that
Yeah.
impact. And I think that gets minimized, but the impact is so massive. It should never be minimized, right?
Right, right, exactly. And it goes back to what you said initially, Angie. You don't have to spend millions of dollars or millions of hours
No.
to be able to give back in powerful ways.
Yep.
Because the more we each as individuals reach out to and volunteer or donate, the more of that we have. First of all, it comes from love,
Yes.
right? It comes from love. Wow, what if we had more love in this world?
We need it.
Yes, more giving, more, unselfishness.
Yep.
Um, I mean, that's it. And again, it doesn't have to be huge.
No.
And actually, I'm actually thinking about, and I haven't called them yet, but there's a local nursery, plants nursery
Yes.
kind of thing. And I want to volunteer there. It's a little late in the season now, but I want to call them and say, hey, is there something I can do so I can volunteer next year? Because I love plants, I love gardening, and they may not need help, but just little things like that. Find something that you're passionate about.
Yes.
If you hate gardening and being outside, then you're not going to volunteer at a garden center, right? You're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, something you're comfortable with, because if you're
Mhm.
if you're not comfortable with it, then your heart's not going to be in it.
Right.
So think about, what are you passionate about? What are
Yes.
you passionate about? When you see something on the news, and well, there's lots on the news, it's just like, oh my God. But or maybe you read something where it's like, wow, I wish I could help. Well, start asking yourself, how can I help?
Yes.
Are
Yes.
there advocacy groups that I can join? Is it just monetary? Is it just maybe a prayer?
Yes.
You know? I mean,
Absolutely.
when I hear, just horrible things, my first reaction is to send Reiki.
Uh,
Now,
mhm.
because I can't do anything for that person,
Right.
but I can, to me, yes, I can help in that manner. It's not as powerful as when they are aware of it
Yeah.
and accepting it and open to it, but it's, I feel like I'm putting positive vibes out there anyway. And yeah, the
Absolutely.
universe needs more of that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Every time I see life flight, every time I stop and say
Yes.
a prayer.
Say a prayer.
I know nothing about any of it, but I pray for the medical staff, the flight staff, the
Yes.
families, obviously the person, anyone who's impacted. And
Yes.
it cost me a minute of my time, but and I'll never know anything about it, but it doesn't matter, because it's
Right.
not about, when you have that passion and that love, it's not about you, it's about the receiver.
Yes.
And being able to just give them whatever type of gift you can give them in that moment.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's so impactful. Just the little things.
Mhm.
I had a mentor tell me one time, always leave a place better than you found it. And
Yes.
And I struggled in the beginning to really kind of understand what that meant. But I will tell you, I'm conscious about that. So even when I go into like a public restroom, and if I
Mhm.
see like there's paper towels, now if it's on the floor and stuff, like I do have my boundaries because I don't, I'm not trying to bring home any type of cooties. But like if they're laying on, like up on the cupboard or something like that, like I'll grab paper towels, grab that, throw it away,
Mhm.
anytime now, if I do see any type of trash on my road, I stop and pick it up. And
Mhm.
matter of fact, I keep a little, like shopping, like a disposable shopping bag in my vehicle for just those moments. And
That's
just,
cool.
well, it's just like little because it's like I love my neighborhood. I take pride in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
And some kid throwing their pop can in somebody else's yard, I'm not okay with. And so when I see
Exactly.
it, it's going to take me 15 seconds to stop, grab it, throw it in my garbage bag, and toss it when I get back home.
Yeah.
But it made a difference. It made an impact, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
if you're into
Yeah.
recycling, I mean, any
Mm.
there's so many creative things that we can do, going in and reading stories to kids who are in the hospitals,
Oh,
or
yeah.
there's just I know our local
Huh.
hospital is very, very selective about this, but they will have uh, women come in and volunteer in the for newborn babies whose mother was unable to like keep them for whatever reason, but they still need
Mhm.
to remain in the hospital. And they might be detoxing from drugs they
Mhm.
ingested in vitro or whatever, but and just give them love and skin to skin connections
Yes.
so that they don't end up being failure to thrive.
Yes.
And they just volunteer to give that gift to that child may never even know them, may never even know that
Right.
that happened in their
Right.
first few days of life. But what a gift to
Oh
be
my
able to
gosh.
give them. um
Yes.
so I mean, I know Lori's point and my point is, anything that you're passionate about, there's a way.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
something out there that you can do, that you can get involved in. And in like my case with the Girls in Leadership Club, there wasn't one, so I created it. You know, so if you're
Of
that,
course you did.
yeah, if you're that passionate about it like I was, then create something, you know. um and like we have a guy in our local downtown. He's very passionate about people who are experiencing poverty to have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So he has a community
Mm.
garden and he tends to it, and then he has volunteers who come and different.
That's neat.
I mean, but that's something that he's passionate
Yes.
about, and it wasn't
Yes.
available, so he went out and created it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there's a local uh, food pantry here. And I've only done it once recently. I contribute, so I contribute funds to them all the time. But then they reached out, to people who have contributed. Do we want to go and volunteer? And I did. I accepted the challenge and volunteered.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I had no idea how huge the place is, how many people they serve.
need.
It was just amazing because they started out with talking to us about how many people they serve in the local area. And I mean, we were just there for maybe a 2.5, 3 hour shift, and we must have filled 1,000 boxes. And so they were smaller boxes, but food that would go to homes. So 1,000 homes were getting food, homes that would not normally get food or not healthy food. Because it's
Yes,
not just about, oh, I have something to eat. It's about having healthy food.
Yes.
Because if your body's not being fueled, just like those little babies, the science is showing that babies need that skin to skin
Yes.
contact. They need that love. They feel it and it helps them grow.
Yes.
Well, I would love to be able to eat chocolate all day and have that just be all I need, but it doesn't work that way. I need my veggies, so we all need some healthy food. And so, just it's amazing how, again, what we're talking about, just little things that you can do. It was 3 hours out of my Saturday morning. And it was an ugly morning anyway. So I mean, it's not like I could go outside and do anything. So, just really look at stuff like that.
Yep.
And if anything is resonating that we're talking about, look at it, Google it, do a search to see if there's anything like this in the area.
Yes, and I know Lori's going to back me up on this, and then tell us, you know,
Yes.
the things that you're doing in your communities and how you're making even just those small little changes
Mhm.
and making an impact, and having, I mean, something like having an intern come in and mentor them, from a local
Mhm.
college, and one of the beautiful things, because when I was in corporate America, I never not had an intern. I had it because that was something I was passionate about.
Mhm.
I was passionate about, making sure that I could pass the torch to the next generation of
Aw.
amazing social workers. And so that was something that was important to me. But I will tell you, I learned as much from them, probably more than they learned from
Mm.
me, because they had fresh eyes, they had fresh perspectives. And, once you're in your career for so many years or so many decades, some of that stuff kind of gets lost. Or you just get, like, I'm just used to doing it this way. But they
Mhm.
taught me so much. So it was this beautiful, mutually beneficial
Mhm.
relationship that was, I loved it. And which is why I always had an intern.
I love that. I love that. It's so, and that goes whether it's business or just, in life itself. We get so set in our ways
Yeah.
that we think this is the only way, and having that fresh look at whatever it is you're trying to accomplish is, yeah, it's as long as you're open to the suggestions.
Right. That's the big piece is, there are, I was hungry for it. And so I sought it
Mhm.
out, and of course I
Yes.
always interviewed my interns because obviously I needed to make sure they were a good fit. And,
Mhm.
like you've heard me say before, I love my husband, but I don't want to work with him. So I always had female interns, because I've always been about women empowerment um, but I would set expectations and I would say, and I expect you, if you have an idea or if you
Mm.
see a process, I want to hear it. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your ideas. And I made it an expectation to give them permission. I want to hear your voice, because what you have to
Yes.
say matters. And so they really appreciated that. Plus it
Yeah.
gave them great practice for whenever they got into their jobs, if they saw something that they could feel confident enough to go to their supervisor and say, this process doesn't seem to be working. Ask those pivotal
Right.
questions and then share, like, what about this way? Or what if we looked at it from that
Right.
perspective? Or, you know,
Right.
um,
Mhm.
so, it's like
Right.
this beautiful ripple effect.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. And can I go back to something that you were mentioning earlier about if you go into a bathroom, you clean it up kind of thing? I wanted to just say that there are so many, adding to that, so many little things you can do. And they're not little. I'm going to stop saying little things. So many things that you can do because, in the grocery store. Oftentimes, I will see people in the little chairs, because they can't walk around the grocery store. And or someone, I'm tall, I've got long arms, And so I can reach that high shelf and I'll see somebody kind of struggling and I'll just say, "Hey, can I help you?" I always ask because sometimes people don't appreciate assistance when they haven't asked for it. It
Mm,
makes them feel less than sometimes, not all the time. So I always ask, "Can you can I help you with that?" Oh, and yeah, of course they always say yes. And then things like you're in the line to check out. I've got 10 items or I'm sorry, I've got a whole basket full and the person behind me has 10 items. Do you want to go ahead of me? I
right.
mean, it's little things like that that are kind, they're thoughtful, they are adding beauty to and raising the vibration of this very heavy feel that we have in our society these days. It's the little things that happen day to day
Yep.
that can make a difference. So again, you don't have to spend millions or thousands or,
No.
spend it's 3 hours or a day at someplace volunteer. You can just be kind to the people around you.
Yes. Hold the door with a smile. you know,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
what a gesture. And
Yes.
I mean, I won't share I mean, it would take me a long time to share the whole story, but I was in a wheelchair for 2.5 years, but I was so independent that I would load my wheelchair up myself in my vehicle and I would go wherever and I'd unpack the thing by myself and
I can see that.
I was very independent, but I also had to realize my limitations. And honestly, people genuinely wanted to help. And if I turned it down, it was harmful because they had this heart for helping a complete
Hmm.
stranger,
Yes.
and so they were getting this um a mutually beneficial gift back and forth of thank you for allowing me to help you, and then I received the gift of no, thank you for helping me because of my being
Yes.
I had limited mobility and just different things. Or if they would, especially in the wintertime, I live in Northeast Ohio, and the snow off the lake can get crazy, and if they saw me struggling, they would push me over the hump, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And I was going to keep going until I got it, believe me.
Right.
But
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
oh,
surprised you didn't carry a shovel with you.
right, exactly. But I was always grateful for the help because I knew that they didn't have to do that. They chose to do that. It was very intentional
Yes.
that they
Yes.
were acted in that kindness, and I never took that for granted. And so I that has always resonated with me. And so looking for just those tiny little ways, if you're at the post office
Yes.
and an elderly person drops a piece of mail, bend over and pick it up for them.
Yeah.
Like those little acts of kindness just make the
Yes.
biggest difference.
Yes. And it's so appreciated by those who are receiving that gift.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, when you said that, Angie, I remember doing that, and it was this. The one sad thing is they were so surprised that somebody helped them. That's
Mm,
a sad part. But they, like you say, they're so grateful, and they smile, their eyes light up. You just made somebody's day.
made somebody's day. Yep.
Yeah.
And I would come home and I would say, three people today, like, just made a difference in my life. Don't know their name, don't know
Mm.
where they're from, don't know anything about them, but their actions made a huge impact on my day. And I mean, that's beautiful, right? And you talked about love, talk about spreading love in our world, which we need
Yes.
more than ever. And but there, I love this conversation so much. And the other thing is get your grandchildren involved, your children, your nieces, your nephews,
Yes.
get them
Yes.
involved. And there's a big movement. I don't know, I think it's nationwide, but it's called Pinwheels for Prevention for Child Abuse. And so every April, which
Oh
is Child
yeah.
Abuse Prevention Month, we would go out and plant pinwheels. And from the time my nieces and nephews were little, I would have them out there because I didn't want to bend over, and they're real close to the ground because they were little.
That's right.
But they knew the meaning behind every pinwheel because every pinwheel represented a child who had experienced some type of abuse in our local area the previous year. And they knew that every pinwheel mattered to that one child. They don't know the child's name, they know nothing about them,
Right.
but they knew the pinwheel represented a child. And then they got good at following directions because we had patterns of how we wanted the pinwheels to be placed. And so they had to stop, they had to pay attention, they had to follow directions. So it was so much more than just this opportunity that was fun to plant pinwheels. They got so much more out of it. And to this day, they're all, the youngest one's 17 now. Every single time they drive by the place where we would plant the pinwheels, they remember those moments. And
Oh,
and to me, that's so powerful. And they think about those
yes.
kids who were impacted
Yes.
then and are impacted now.
Yes.
And I love
Love
that.
that.
I
Love
just
that.
love that
Yes.
that's a little legacy, I guess, that I was able to impart with them from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And and it would take us like 2 hours because there would be lots of little munchkins out there, doing it. And then we would, have like cookies and punch for them and stuff. And but then they had to delay gratification because they would want the cookies and punch. It's like not till we're done, not till. So there
Mhm.
was so many other benefits that came from those
Right.
experiences.
Right. Right. Teaching them a little patience, a little, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I yeah, that's beautiful. We were raised, my sisters and I were raised to volunteer and, when I was in high school and even somewhat college, we kind of college got so busy and I was working in college, I kind of had to step back on it. But we volunteered every Saturday at it was called Little Sisters of the Poor. And it was a home for people for older, and I think it was just people that were nuns. I think it was just for the nuns. But we went in and we volunteered. We did whatever they wanted. Most of the time, it was just being in the kitchen and setting up, getting the prep so that they could make lunch for the people that lived there. And it wasn't what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this wonderful work and and everything's so beautiful. No, it was all about when people would come in and we're serving them lunch and the thank yous, the smiles, the gratitude. It fills your heart.
Yes.
So even though we are giving something, we are
Oh,
receiving
so
so
much
much
fun.
more. And that's the law of the world. That's the law of nature. What you give comes back to you in greater amounts. So think about that, people. If you're giving anger all the time, guess what's coming back to you? If you're giving love all the time, guess what's coming back to you? So, but I do caution, don't do it to receive.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a
Now,
pure heart about it.
right, right. That I do love that feeling of, when I'm volunteering and, I'm going to be volunteering at a festival this weekend. And I love that. I just love that. So I love that feeling.
Yeah.
And I guess I wouldn't do it if I hated it.
Right.
And you shouldn't, right?
Right.
There's going to be something that you love.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't do it to get something back in return.
Right. yeah. It's for the greater good. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's yes. And like, so it's, I'm so glad you brought this up, and I'm trying to think of a more delicate way to put this, but there are people who they do it because they want their name up in lights. They want the recognition. They want the newsletter to go out with their name on it, that they did this and they did that and they contributed and this and that and the other thing. And but then their mind is, well, I'm doing my part. And it's like, you okay. And I don't want to poo poo on what they're giving, but
Right.
I almost feel sorry for them because they're not experiencing that joy that comes back to you. Um, and
Yes.
they're getting this superficial attaboy or attagirl um,
Hmm.
that's really very superficial, not genuine,
Hmm.
and who those people are in your neighborhoods, because like I mean, I'm
Yes.
not going to, but I could name off 5 or 6 people off the top of my head right now. They're not doing nothing unless, where's my name going to go, what plaque am I going to
Right.
get, and it's
Right.
like that's
They,
not
yeah.
what,
Yeah.
if you want to make a really big impact, share your heart.
Yes.
That's,
Yes.
think
Yes.
about the Care Bears just came to mind, like
Oh.
Tender Heart. If you squeeze Tender Heart's stomach, the heart grew and just
Oh.
spread love out into the world. And so be more like, I think I'm saying the right
Hmm.
Care Bear,
I
but
don't know.
it was a
Oh.
cartoon I watched in the early 80s.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
good image of,
Yes.
if someone squeezed, what would come out, like would your big
Yes.
heart come out, or would it be,
Yes.
oh no, my name has to be at the top of the page or
Yeah.
in lights, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Either like you say, it's superficial and
Yeah,
it's sad. But
sad.
again, I totally agree with you. I wouldn't want them to stop because oftentimes they're giving,
Right.
what they are giving is beneficial,
Sure. Correct.
but what they're giving, like you said, isn't coming back to them
That,
in the way that
mm,
that just feels so much better.
yeah, yeah, they're really robbing themselves of
Yes.
the gift of receiving,
Yes.
honestly. And that's where I feel bad for them, because of just the joy, or whatever other feelings come up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because there's so many feelings that come up whenever you're
Yes.
making a big
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Oh, what a great conversation. I'm so hyped right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't it make you just want to go out and say, like, okay, now where can I volunteer my time today, and what,
Exactly.
where can I make a difference? And but they're all, they're opportunities. I
Hmm.
mean, just turn around. There are opportunities everywhere. And
Yes.
and if you think you don't have time, think about, what would it be like if you sacrificed just an hour a month, and what would you
Hmm.
be doing during that time? Like playing a game on your phone, or watching
Ah,
mindless TV that
yeah,
is not filling your cup up. Um,
right,
and I am not a
right.
morning person. Like, I am not a morning person. But by
Mhm.
golly, I was up at 6:30 this morning and getting ready to go volunteer, to be at the school by
Oh,
7:30, so that I could, because of because I'm so passionate about it, that,
right.
and it's like, so in my mind, it's like, well, what else would I be doing? I'd be sleeping, which, okay, sleep is good, but this is more important,
Yeah,
and pouring into these young ladies is so much more important than me getting an extra hour of sleep, you know.
right.
Um, and I got
Yeah.
energized from it, to listen,
Yes.
to what they were saying and to how, we were talking about the qualities of a leader and how they view themselves as a leader. And just to hear that, I was like, oh, I mean, talk about, I couldn't get I had perma smile because I couldn't stop smiling.
Perma smile.
I was so proud of these young ladies, and just the emotional intelligence that they were starting to develop as teenagers. And I was like, oh, you're gonna change the world, and I love this.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you brought up that it makes you smile, it energizes you.
Yes.
Whereas if you just got up at 6:30 and, kind of milled around the house and, then yeah, it's a whole different feel. A whole
I would
different
not
feel.
be energized. I'll just say
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you.
that. Well,
Um,
Lori, this has been a great conversation. And ladies, I hope that you have taken some little nuggets away, or that you feel energized and motivated. And perhaps we have sparked something in you that says, I can do this. This is how
yes.
I can contribute and give back, and make a difference in my little neck of the woods.
Even if it's just opening a door for somebody. And you want to shock somebody, open a door for a man.
Yeah, really, truly, right.
Be like,
Um,
what?
yes. And then let us know. Seriously, we would love
Yeah.
to know, and because but the ideas that you share with us might spark something. It's like, oh, I didn't even think about, giving back in that way, or volunteering in that way, or supporting in that way. So you never know what kind of ripple effect you
Right.
can have by sharing what you're doing, to make that difference and change, in the world. So,
Yeah. Yes, ladies, show your hearts. Show your hearts.
yes. Oh, yeah, I love how you said that. So until next time, this is Lori and Angie, and we'll be talking to you very soon.
See
Bye.
ya. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Unapologetically Unstoppable Women podcast. If today's conversation fired you up, inspired you, or made you laugh out loud, don't forget to hit subscribe and share this episode with another unstoppable woman in your life. Remember, you don't have to apologize for your ambition, and you never have to shrink to fit someone else's expectations. Keep showing up, keep breaking barriers, and keep living life on your own terms. Until next time, stay unapologetic, stay unstoppable.